Well guys, check this out. It's the weekend. It's Sunday on the weekend after all the snow, and today it's 60 degrees and sunny, and I definitely am not complaining, believe me. It's gonna be in the 60s all this week and rain off and on some, but not that bad. I think it's gonna be up about 66 by Thursday. So like I said, I don't take this the wrong way. I don't mean to complain. I'm certainly not, but the weather is definitely sort of on the unpredictable side a lot of the time down here. I know you guys up north would give your right hand probably for have a day like this, and I sure understand that. So don't take that as a complaint. I'm just making an observation. It's a real snaky snowman. That's where I did the power slide the other day, or the drift or whatever. But anyway, I thought today we would go underneath this Oldsmobile and take a look at it. I've actually already been under it, so I'm just going to go back under it and kind of point some things out to you. I've had this car, you know, for a few months and been driving it and like it. And I didn't get the impression that there's anything significantly wrong with it. I did point out that you saw that video with the motor mount that's busted. So I bought 3 mounts for it. I bought both left and right motor mount. I bought the single transmission mount at the very back, because the reason is, I don't know if the other ones are bad, but normally when one breaks, the others are not far behind, and it also puts additional stress on the other 2 mounts because that one's not doing its job anymore. So I wanted to also get underneath and look and check out the suspension in the front end and see what kind of shape those are in and all that, and nothing bad so far. I was noticing this car has the the stock, well, the computer control system. Like it or hate it, but it has it. So the computer control carburetor and all that kind of stuff. So one thing I was noticing about it was that the constant traffic, as always. The background's like New York City here. One thing I was noticing is that the torque converter's not locking up in it, and it's supposed to have that. You know, a lot of these older cars did, and this one does. It just runs off of, you know, it's computer controlled. It's not. Some of the older GM cars and trucks, the trucks, like the mid-80s trucks, had a kind of a complicated vacuum torque converter lockup control system, and I figured out of all the ones that were built, there's probably about one that works correctly now. And the Canadian GM cars, they never got this, at least to my knowledge, they never got the computer control system like we did here. So most of the, for one thing, most of the, like the Oldsmobiles up there were some that had 307s in them, Oldsmobiles, but a lot of cars up there, even the Cutlass like this one, would have had a 305 Chevy in it with a mechanical carburetor and distributor. So after venturing into that piece of trivia, they also, it's worth mentioning, they also use that, for the most part, use that vacuum lockup system. This one doesn't. This one's just straight electronic. But it wasn't working, so the first thing I suspected is that that this car might have had the transmission changed in it. It does have a transmission with a vacuum modulator, so that means it can only be a turbo 250C or a turbo 350C. It's easy to get them confused because the pan shape on them is all the same. It's a little bit different size, and it's easy to get a turbo 250C confused with a turbo 350C. So the way I looked at this is I came up here to see whether it was original. I looked at my VIN number. The last, I don't know if you can see that or not, the last of that is 557484 on the VIN. So I came up under here and got over here, and somebody already cleaned this transmission off. I didn't even have to do that. Scoot. And anyway, looked up there on the pad right here on the left side of the transmission, and as you can hopefully see, I'll turn the camera a little bit, it says 557484 on it. So it is the original transmission in here. Now the question is going to be, when I go around the other side, to see whether this is a turbo 250C or a turbo 350C. The C means it has a lockup torque converter. There were none of these that were electronically shifted. They don't have the, like a, you know, a 4L60E, all that. They don't have all that crap. But here's what was going on with the lockup issue. If you'll notice there, you see that harness coming down. You see how it's got a broken wire right there? Well, that's undoubtedly, there's a connector that goes in the transmission. That's undoubtedly the lockup wire. It's just a single wire. And the other one right there might explain some of my electrical problems. I don't know what's caused these wires to deteriorate so bad. I don't know if it's just the oil getting on them or what's up, but you can see the other one is just bare wire right there, and that absolutely ain't gonna fly because that's a dead short. Something else worth mentioning here also, I'm under here, is that this car still has its catalytic converter on it. That's the pipe that comes down from the air injection system. That's the air pump up there. And this is the rear mount that goes on the transmission. I think that's the governor cover right there, I think. Anyway, it's all original and just as oily as I've ever seen. So let's go around the other side and see what we can. Oh man, I'll point something out real quick. I know I'm kind of jumping around, but you see that stuff in the tree up there? Even when the trees lose their winter, you see those little clumps of crap in there. It looks like, well, maybe they're actually got leaves still on them. Those are not leaves. That's mistletoe. Mistletoe is a invasive species to a tree. So what we can do now is take a look under here. If I can get my big self under here. Let's see. I bet I can't. No, I can too. I'm gonna have to turn you around here. Okay. Alright, one thing here, on the back of this transmission, you see that? That's the vacuum modulator line. If you have an automatic 3-speed in a General Motors vehicle, it is only going to be one of 3 transmissions: a turbo 250C, a turbo 350C, or non-C, doesn't matter, or a turbo 400. But you'll know if it's a turbo 400 because that thing there, that modulator, here's the pan and here's the exhaust, kind of orient you. Don't have much room under here. On a turbo 400, it points out. Where's my finger? There it is. It points this way, out towards the side of the car. Now, if that ain't confusing enough, which it is, if that's not confusing enough, there's actually 2 other transmissions that can exist. Why on earth GM did that, I don't know. It's like, why go to the trouble to build a light duty some rust there, my mouth. Why did it go to the trouble to build a light duty turbo 350, you know? But they actually made 2 of these transmissions that are not turbo 350s and not turbo 400s. They're both called turbo 375s. One of them is a light duty turbo 400. It looks like a turbo 400 with the same kind of pan, looks like the state of Texas. But on the back over here, it's always stamped, cast into this tail housing. You'll see TH375 on it. And then there's another one called I think it's the TH375B. And here we go again on that one. It's got the same pan shape as a turbo 250, a turbo 350, except it ain't one. And I don't know that it's cast in here or not. I don't think it is. So you got one TH375 looks like a turbo 350, you got one looks like a turbo 400. Let that confuse you if you want to, but let's get back to this one. I think I see looking for here. Yep. Yep. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Let's see if I've got that. What I'm looking at there. I hope I'm trying to orient this the right way. What you're looking for on this thing. Dang it. Let's see. Up in there on the side of the transmission, there's a screw that comes out like a big end of a bolt, and it's kind of. There you go. Let's see here. Can get a better angle on this. Yeah, maybe. Oh, that's not what I'm looking at all. I'm sorry. Well, I'll have to get the light and see. See, this could be either one. They put both these transmissions in these cars, so I can't see it. But there's a little on the passenger side of this transmission. If it's a turbo 250 and 250C or 250 only, then it has a small bolt head that protrudes out the side of the case next to those cooler lines. That's a second gear band adjusting screw, because these things use a band to apply second gear, not clutches, like a TH350. I gotta quit talking about this before I confuse everybody, but if you got any questions on that, just let me know, ask me in the comments. I can kind of make more sense of it. But looking at the bottom of it, it looks okay. Everything, I don't see any major oil leaks or anything. I think I got a valve cover leak, but let's get out of here. Okay. Let's take a look at the front end. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll post it in the comments what I find if it's which transmission this is. But I got in here and shook all the front end components, tie rod ends, idle arm, pitman arm over there, drag link, and everything seems to be nice and tight. This car has about 140, I think about 148,000 on it. That's your oil filter. That's your oil pump on a V6 Buick and a V8 Buick, I'm sorry. But everything looks good, nice and tight. Looks like it's been lubed pretty well. I noticed that the sway bar end links have been replaced with some pretty good quality stuff, looks like. See, they're red. That's usually polyurethane. And same over there. And the sway bar mounts look good. They're acceptable. Front and lower control arm bushings look good on it. Steering box seems okay. It's not leaking anything right now. That's the good. I think that's the good box. It's not the cheap one. It's the one that's got the bolt-on cover on it. I did notice one thing that's kind of interesting. They replaced one shock over there, and they didn't replace this one. Don't do that. Don't be so cheap. So there's a gas line. I did kind of fail to show you. There's our mounts we got to replace. There's one right there. It's up in there. You got a cross bolt right there. You see the head of right there in the center, and you got two bolts, I think, that bolted to the block. So what you got to do is I got to take my jack and put a piece of wood under the oil pan back there, and there's the oil pan. And right there. Carefully lift the engine just a little bit and take them out. So these tires have got to be replaced. The tread ain't too bad on them, but they're all dry rotted. And that one, see that? It's got a plug in it. And this car does have these crossbars. These seem to be what everybody kind of looks for. And this car is old enough. This is an 83, and back then they did not put the speed label in these yet. That's the option tag that has all the option codes on it. Somewhere in this car there's probably a build sheet and it would have it on it, but this one doesn't have it easily found. But that's pretty good indication that this car has a F41 suspension, and it does, because you can tell if you ever drive one of these that does not have the F41 and then you drive one that does, you can just definitely tell a difference in it. It's got a quick ratio steering box. It rides nice and firm, and it's got these bars on it, which that's not a dead giveaway, but normally when you got F41, this comes with these. So it's just a nice car. It's a nicely optioned. It's not loaded down with power stuff, but I like it. Disconnected there. Oh, okay. Yeah, you can tell this thing's original because it's got it's like its little holders and stuff still on it. All right, guys. Well, I better get some work done. Stay out here all day talking, not get any work done. So let me get on with it, and I'll update you. See ya. Bye.